welcome everyone to the People's House.
Mr. Speaker, will you please call the House to order?
The bill is passed.
This bill says that New York understands the breadth and the depth of the problem.
Hi, I'm Tom Abinanti. Welcome to Albany Update. I'm your Assemblyman in the 92nd Assembly District at Greenburgh and Mount Pleasant, and all of the communities in those two towns. And today I'm with Barbara Bartolini. Did I pronounce that right?
Bartoletti.
Bartoletti.
Almost.
Almost
Close,
got it right. Okay.
close.
See, with Abinanti, I just assumed
That's
I know
right.
how to
It would
pronounce
be
it.
the good Italian names would go together. That's right.
Anyway, Barbara, who are you and why are you here?
Well, I am Legislative Director for the New York State League of Women Voters. The League is a nonpartisan political organization that, but we are nonpartisan. We do not engage in political campaigns, nor do we support or oppose any candidate or party. Probably best known is the fact that we hold candidates debates or forums so that we make sure that the voters are informed before they go to the polls to vote. We certainly have both men and women, have had that even though our name says the League of Women Voters. We are an outgrowth of the suffragist movement. So once women got the right to vote, it was felt that they needed to be able to make their own decisions, not just their husbands saying, you should vote for X or Y.
How long has the League of Women Voters been around?
Oh, since 1920. Here in this state, since actually 1919, we actually were formed as the women's suffragist movement was coming to an end with the amendment to give women the right to vote. And so we wanted our new voters to be very well informed. We have had men in our organization since the early 1970s. And
I objected to the name League of Women
I'm
Voters.
sure you did.
And I told the people in Westchester County, where you have a very active group,
Yes, we do,
that I was going to join when you changed the name from League of Women Voters. But I eventually conceded, and I'm still a member to this day. But
well, and you know that a brand really means a great deal, and therefore we've always been known as the League of Women Voters. We actually, until the late 80s, did the presidential debates, and then they got too political, and it was no longer informing the voter. It was who could make the most of the media attention.
Right,
so
right.
we backed out.
Well,
then.
you have a very good brand, especially in Westchester County.
Yes, we do.
And you are seen as one of those, quote, good government groups.
We are.
And I have to say, I identify with most of your issues, and I applaud the efforts that your local members make to study issues and try to come to nonpartisan solutions, which raises the question of, on a statewide basis, how do you choose your issues and how do you decide your positions?
Well, actually, our operation is done, we are a tri-level organization. So we have local leagues, we have a state league, and then we have a national league. And before we can go out and advocate on any particular position, we first have to study it. Now, it used to be when women were not so much in the workplace but still wanted to be intellectually active, we would do 2- and 3-year studies, and we would study everything there was to know about an issue. We would then come to consensus. And most of our studies now are shorter in length so that we can have member agreement.
You mean there's some organization out there that actually works by consensus?
Oh, absolutely. Not the legislature. So, you know, I have to go back to my league roots to realize that, yes, some people do actually do things by consensus. School boards often will do that, too. But we study an issue, and then our local leagues, actually all that information goes out to our local leagues. They have study committees, and then they hold consensus questions, a night where if you are a league member, you look at these consensus questions and you vote yes or no on these consensus questions, and often there's a minority opinion, especially in a place like Westchester, where you often will have lawyers as husbands and wives who are both now lawyers, or doctors, and they sometimes don't have the same view on an issue. So once we do come to consensus statewide, our 50 leagues around the state, then we at the state level formulate all of those concurrence or consensus questions, and we develop a position. It then comes to my side of the league on the education side, where we do the candidates forums, and often in a place like Rye, where they don't do advocacy, they just do public forums. But on my side of the league, which is actually a C4, which does advocacy, Those positions now come to my side of the league, and then I go out here in the legislature and I advocate on behalf of the positions we take.
So you're one of those high-paid lobbyists?
I am a very high-paid lobbyist. I get exactly nothing. In fact,
how long have you been doing this?
About 30. I think this is probably my 35th session since very early in the...
And you've been a volunteer all that time?
Everyone in the league, except for our 2 paid employees in our state office here in Albany, everyone in the league is a volunteer. So all of our 20 issue specialists, and we have them across the board, whether it's education, healthcare, good government, election law, the environment, transportation, the judiciary, all of these men and women are specialists in that particular area. They feed their expertise to me, and then if we have a position on an issue, I go out and try to persuade you to vote for or against whatever our position.
One of the things that I've noticed with the league is you seem to pay a lot of attention to process issues.
We do. Because that's the way a good government should work.
Making sure that the system is not rigged against somebody, whether it's voting rights or whatever, the process. You can always look to the League of Voters. I guess it goes back to your nonpartisan background, but you're the ones who always look at the process and say, this process is rigged, this process isn't working, or something like that.
Whether it's charter revision at the very local level, which our local leagues are often very much involved in, whether it's the redistricting process that we know has been so broken here in New York State for so long, across the country actually, or whether it's the voter-friendly ballot issue, or a single primary, or campaign finance reform, or ethics reform, or budget reform. We do a great deal in that area of making government work more for the people in a representative democracy.
Let people have a say.
That's
and let them see what's going on.
That's right. Transparency, accountability, all of those issues.
You let the sunshine in, as they say,
and
it kills all of the germs.
That's right. It's the best disinfectant.
Let's talk about some of the issues. You mentioned campaign finance reform.
Yes.
This has gotten a lot of attention. The New York City system seems to be working despite its lots of critics.
It's been there for 20 years.
And I personally think the New York City system is a good idea. I hear from people, well, you know, I don't want to pay for their campaigns. And my response usually is, you're paying for their campaigns. You just don't realize it because it's costing the state a lot of money to allow those special interests to pay for the campaigns of people. And those of us who don't get special interest money have a very weak campaign account.
That's right. That's perfectly said, because when you go out and talk to people, and we did 40 forums around the state just a year ago, trying to inform the communities about the need for comprehensive campaign finance reform. And once you connect the dots for people and you tell them, are you interested in good health care? Are you interested in good education? Do you care about your family's issues, whether they be transportation issues or whatever it is, your kids' education, you can be very assured that the special interest voice is much louder in Albany than your individual voice. So if you wanted to pay $3, you can check it off your income tax, depending on how they set up the public financing system. You, as an individual or a family, would have much louder voice in Albany, or even in Washington if they did it on the national level, than all of the big moneyed special interests.
It also gets around the problem that the Supreme Court has created by one of its decisions, because they say you can't restrict the expenditures, but if you promise to take...
Corporations are people too.
Right, yes, I know. But if you promise, if in exchange for taking public money, you promise to abide by certain rules, those United States Supreme Court decisions don't apply.
That's because this is a voluntary system. It can't be mandated, but it is voluntary. And there are certain candidates, like a Mr. Bloomberg, when he was mayor of New York City, you can never restrict his ability to spend his own money. But you can, at all but that very expensive candidate level, you individually, your other colleagues in the legislature, they would be much more likely to spend time really working on issues for the betterment of this society than they would answering or calling people to say, you know, I really need that $1,500 contribution that you might give me.
Look, it's very uncomfortable to work with somebody during the week, whether they have good ideas or bad ideas. I'll meet with anybody at any time from any group or any lobbyist or whatever. I'll sit and meet with them. And if I like what they're proposing, I'll go with it. If I
Sure.
don't like it, I'll say, come back to me next time. Maybe you'll have something that I'll like next time.
That's
But this
right.
time I can't agree with you. But then when you have to raise money, because you need $100,000 to get reelected.
That's right.
And
That's exactly right.
You know, I'm not from a wealthy family. And so, and my friends in the
Aren't
district
wealthy.
aren't wealthy
That's
and
right.
aren't giving me $100,000. And so you have to have a fundraiser. And whoever shows up, shows up.
That's right.
And it's usually the biggest lobbyists who see you are on such and such a committee and would like to be your friend.
That's right. That's
And
right. And why do they give people money if it isn't because they see the betterment of their bottom line?
Right, exactly.
I mean, you wouldn't do it if you didn't think it had a
see,
success
lobbyists
rate.
serve a purpose, even some of the high-paid lobbyists.
Yes, they do. Oh, absolutely.
Because
Some
they
of my best
provide
friends
they
are
provide some
paid
very good
lobbyists.
information.
They do.
But I would
That's
rather
our
just
job.
sit in my office and take the information
That's right.
rather than have to meet them some other time and take money from them.
And I
And the
have
public doesn't understand how difficult it is
That's right.
for
They
those of
don't.
us who don't like this system.
That's right. They do not.
Some other stuff. You also work in lots of other areas. Women's rights. That's another hot topic these days.
Yes, it actually is, and we have actually been we have a real interesting part of our portfolio, which is called individual liberties. And so we view a woman's right to privacy as a individual right, and it comes kind of under our government portfolio is as an individual, your right is to have privacy in making reproductive choices. So if you decide to carry a pregnancy or not to carry a pregnancy, that is your individual right under our Constitution. It's what we
I find
what
it
we
very
believe.
interesting that some people who are so strongly in favor of certain rights
Yes.
decide to pick and choose which rights individuals
right.
should have.
That's right.
And it seems to me the position you're taking is very consistent with the position of some people on the right, on the left, that says basically, I don't want government in my bedroom, I don't want government in my life.
Exactly.
And
libertarian.
Libertarian.
It often is a very libertarian. And as such, though, the Women's Equality Agenda, which has 10 components, the governor put forward a piece of legislation last year that clearly your House addressed last year as an omnibus bill and passed it, and have just recently, about a week ago, done it, a week ago yesterday, I believe, did it again this session. So it is actually the Senate where our energies are, because it's very hard, I would think, for legislators to say, oh no, we think trafficking is a great idea, human trafficking,
Right.
or we think pregnancy discrimination in the workplace is a great idea. I mean, 9 out of the 10 also passed in the Senate, but the Senate refused, for political reasons, to do the 10th, which has more to do with whether or not they get the conservative line endorsement
Right.
than it does with
Politics
almost anything
enters.
else. It's politics. Unfortunately, that means an awful lot of these women, whether it's pregnancy in the workplace or whether it's human trafficking, are not getting what maybe we could have accomplished last year if we passed the full comprehensive
And many
bill.
of those people are the libertarians. Who
Exactly.
on every other issue say government shouldn't be there,
That's
but
right.
for whatever reason,
That's right.
government should be in the bedroom.
And for some, it's a religious reason. But again, that should be kept in your church, in your conscience, and within your family.
We're running out of time. I hope that you're going to be able to join me again in the future.
Absolutely.
If someone wants to get involved with the League of Women Voters, how do they find you?
Well, we have a website, which is lwvny.org. They can go to our website, wvny.org. That's the League of Women Voters, New York.org. And on our front page, our web page, you will see all of our issues. You will see a lot of voter issues, and come and join us.
Well, I'm a member.
Yes, you are.
I would hope that a lot of my constituents that go to your website and take a look at some of the great things that you're doing.
It's very little money for very great
Right.
product.
And they're not going to be forced to take one position or another.
Nope.
They can come and argue with everyone else.
Yes, they can.
And help shape the positions of the organization.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me today.
Okay. And anybody have any issues they need help from my office, please call me. I'm Tom Abinanti. This is Albany Update.